Today we're going to be talking about the most boring, yawning subject, and that is if you want to change the channel, if you want to go somewhere else or discontinue watching this, I totally understand and I never hold it against you. We're going to talk about the contract law and the 7 essentials that a contract needs to be binding. I know it's boring, but I promise you I'm going to make it as fun as possible. So I'll hold you to this video to the end so you can watch it with me. Hi, Axel Ziba here. Watch this video with me. Welcome to my YouTube Sincere Real Estate Chat. It's a sincere chat about real estate and its facts. One reason that I chose this boring subject, it's only because someone asked me to talk about contract law and what makes a binding contract. And in order for explaining that, we need to talk about the essentials of contract. So as boring as it may seem to be, it's important for you as a buyer and seller to know what makes a contract. In real estate terms, it may be different than regular contracts out there. So bear with me, let's get to it, let's chat. There are usually 2 types of contract in real estate. One is agency contract. It's similar to the agency contract that I sign with my buyers or I sign with my homeowners as a listing agent. That kind of contract, it's a little different, but we're going to be talking about the contract of purchase and sale, and that's a contract between a buyer and a seller. Let's just talk like a lawyers and pretend that we're lawyers. Before there can be a contract, there should be consensus ad item. What the heck is that? It's meetings of the minds. And I still don't get it. So that means parties must agree on the fundamental contract terms. Okay. In order to form a contract, there must be an offer on one side and acceptance from the other side of the party. To be more precise, a contract means promise or promises made from one party to the other and agreed from the other side. In order to understand a real estate contract, I'd love to go through an example, and based on that example, we can maybe comprehend it better. So there is this guy named Joe. He's supposed to be my client, and he comes to me and says, "Hey Axel, remember the house they showed us last week? My wife and I really like it, and we like to make an offer. Can you do me a favor and draft a paperwork, make an offer for $1,000, and in order for me to understand whether the home is in a good condition or not, let's make it conditional. And for that, to show my seriousness and my good faith that I'm making a good offer, I like to offer $10 for a deposit. And my wife and I would like to move in within a month if that's okay. But one thing that I want to make sure that, remember that $10 that I'm going to put in, I'm going to put a conditional based on only if the house checks out. It means there's no issue with it. All right, Axel?" And I say, "Okay, Joe, let's do this." Contract has 7 essentials. And first essential of a contract is offer or counter offer. Remember we talked about offer a little bit. So we said it's a promise from one party to another. The offer is usually followed by an expected acceptance or counter offer. Now, if it gets accepted, that's going to bring us to the second essential of a contract, which is acceptance. But it can also get countered. Now, if it gets countered, we're still at number 1 essential, which is offer or counter offer. And what's counter offer? It's a change or a new offer from a side that received the offer originally, didn't like the terms, so they're changing the term of the offer, creating a new offer, and sending it back as a new offer, or in other terms, counter offer to the original party. Are you still watching this with me, or am I just talking to the air? I don't blame you if you just want to leave. I know it's boring, but it's good to know this thing, isn't it? So I drafted the offer for Joe, and I put everything that Joe asked me and presented it to the Jones family. Now, Jones family are the seller for the home that Joe likes to make an offer. One thing that Joe wanted me to do is to give the Jones family a deadline. So we gave them until the next day to make their decision. And it turned out that the Jones family, they liked a better price than what Joe is offering. So they countered back and wrote a counter offer at $1,500 back to Joe. They kept all the terms the same. Those terms was Joe's $10 deposit, If the home doesn't check out, Joe can walk away and get back his deposit. And of course, they agreed that Joe and his wife can move in within a month. Only thing that they changed as a counter offer and they created a new offer was the price. So I took the counter offer and gave it to Joe and said, Joe, this is it. So they came back at 1,500. What do you think? And he said, Axel, as much as we love this home and I love my wife and my wife told me you gotta get this home, but I think I can get it for a better price. So I really want you to go back to them and offer my final and last number, which would be at $1,250. And if you can't get it, we'll walk away. So I just got to work, I got the paperwork, put that number in and presented it to the seller at $1,250. And that was, again, another counter from Joe to the Jones family. By that afternoon, the Jones family, they liked the price and they accepted Joe's offer. And that's going to bring us to number 2 essential of a contract, and that is acceptance. Acceptance must be in a very clear form given, just similar to the offer itself. It cannot just be based on if I don't hear from you, so it's accepted. It has to be very clear and it has to be written on a contract. Now that Joe's offer was accepted by the Jones family, Joe has to continue fulfilling some of the promises that he put down into that contract as terms, such as his $10 deposit. And that's number 3 essential to create a contract, and that's in a legal term or legal word, that's consideration. The consideration, it can be in form of anything of value to both parties. So it can be a benefit, a profit, an interest, or a monetary or dollar value. That was consideration, which is deposit. So in a real estate world, how much deposit you have to put down? As the legal term explains it, it has to be satisfactory to both parties and it has to be of a value. So it can be $1 if it's acceptable to the sellers. In our region where we practice real estate, most of the contract, they contain 5% of the price that is being offered. And when it comes to multiple offers or competing offers, of course, the more, the better. Deposit shows a bit more seriousness, a bit more cash flow from the buyers and more comfortable base in their financing terms. Also, it secures the sellers that these buyers is comfortable to put a larger deposit and it's showing seriousness. A few weeks ago, when the Jones family listed their home for a certain price, they showed intention. And intention is the 4th essential of a contract. There should be an intention from both parties. And Joe is coming in and showing interest to make an offer on that property. It's creating an intention. Intention shows that the parties are willing to enter into a binding contract very clearly. And I'm pretty sure when the Jones family listed their home, they were in a perfect capacity. And capacity is actually the 5th essential of a contract. And I'm very certain when I was writing a contract for Joe and he signed it to make that offer, he was in a perfect capacity. What capacity? He was of an age. So in British Columbia, the legal age is 19 plus that can write a contract. He was not drunk, so he was not under the impression of drunkenness. He also has a mental capacity. That means he was not claiming insanity or he was not insane. And that goes for both parties because if any of them come to play, that contract cannot shape. In addition to both Joe and the Jones family, both are in capacity. One thing that was obvious, that both showed genuine consent. That is the 6th essential, genuine consent. And without a genuine consent, a contract cannot be binding. And to explain the genuine consent, do you remember the legal term or that the lawyers used, consensus ad item or meeting of the minds? That's genuine consent. That means that 2 minds together, they were genuinely wanting to make a contract very clearly. And 7th essential of a contract is legal object or legal objective. Now the contract needs to be legal. A contract needs to be legal to be binding. So just let's go out of the box in here and explain this a bit further. If 2 people come together and make a contract to do a criminal activity, that contract is certainly not binding. And I'm very certain as Joe's agent, I'll make sure that this contract does not contain any criminal activity or any illegal terms inside it that is not acceptable by law. For instance, Joe and the Jones family, they were very clear on taxes and they didn't want to hide that up. That's one example of a criminal activity with intent. And if that's the case, the contract is not binding. But in Joe and the Jones family, everything was perfect and clear. And the good news is that the Jones family actually checked out and everything was in a good condition. And Joe and his wife happily moved in the next month. To summarize the 7 essentials of a contract, we have offer, we have acceptance, consideration, capacity, legal intention, legal objective, and genuine consent, or meeting of the minds, or consensus ad item, as lawyers call it. Hoping that you enjoyed and you're still with me. I'm hoping that I'm not talking to nobody right now. Thanks for watching this to the end with me. I really appreciate it. Please smash that like button so this video can get to more people's eyes and they can learn from this. And better yet, if you can subscribe to my channel as I put videos out there every Thursday. Thanks for watching.